Welcome to my creative chronic life. Today I'm back with a different type of video, and one of my other hobbies which I really enjoy doing is colouring, and I do enjoy lots of adult colouring. And here I have the Johanna Basford Small Victories colouring book which just came out this week. So I'll be sharing a flip through of the book, and then I'll also be doing a little bit of colouring at the end. If you're part of the colouring world, you know that Johanna Basford has lots and lots of books available. She did publish one called Rooms of Wonder this year, and this is the second publish of the year. Now this book is meant to be used in a way where you just have 10 minutes, you can sit down and do a little bit of colouring. So some of these pages you'll have already seen in her previous books, like Rooms of Wonder. She's also got, I think, Inky... Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, Worlds of Wonder, Worlds of Flower. There's also Johanna's Christmas, Magical Jungle, Lost Ocean, and 30 Days of Creativity. So you will see some similarities there available, but the aim of this book is to just sit down for 10 minutes and be able to do a little bit of colouring and just relax. As I'm flipping through this book, I can already see some that have caught my eye, like the mushroom in the corner, and then the butterfly, the little cars with the balloons on, these little fishes. I think they're just so cute. Not only that, I think they're perfect to be able to do in your own style of colouring, so it doesn't have to generically be, oh well, here's a house, so because there's a house, what I'm going to do is colour it in brown, brown brick. You can make it as colourful as you like. You can make it black and white, you can colour some pages in, throughout the pages you can leave some blank. You can not only just have to do them in coloured pencils, you can do them in pens. I've seen some people do them in chalk and watercolours. I think the variation is there. Now this paper in itself is really thick, and it's not white, it's like an off cream type, and it feels almost like card. Now at the back of the book there's always a couple of pages where you can do a test palette page, so if you do want to test if things will seep through, you've got that option available, so you don't just kind of go head in and think, oh my goodness me, I've ruined my whole page now, I wish I'd checked earlier. So there's always that option available to you, which I do like. As you can see, some pages are smaller, other pages are larger, and I think the intention here is just to be able to go with the flow, take your time and really enjoy the process of it all. And if you do only have 10 minutes on the way to work, you can just do that on the bus, or if you've got 10 minutes in the evening, that's all you really need to do. All the cupcakes. I do enjoy the Rooms of Wonder. I think there's a page in there that's got lots of bits and bobs available, but also there's one that's got cakes, different variations of cakes, and they're one of my favourite things to colour in. Now as I'm flipping through this book, if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to colour in, please leave a comment below and I'll be more than happy to do a quick recording and share that. Now my main source of sharing is always on YouTube, so sometimes I do repeat the content on other social media platforms, but sometimes I'm also just going to share on Instagram. So if you would like to follow me, you can follow me at My Creative Chronic Life. This house now in the left hand corner I've actually seen coloured in, and somebody did it with a rainbow roof, and I thought that looked really cool. And I've already seen somebody colour in the spaceship one, and they did chalk on the outside and the good coloured pencils in the inside. So there's lots of variation and lots of tutorials available for you. Now this is new to my channel because I've not shared colouring before. As you know, my love of planners and stickers, I do really enjoy doing that, but sometimes it's just a little bit difficult to be able to complete a full spread, and especially since my health isn't the best. I mean, like holding on to this booklet now, even though it's quite small, is, you know, actually really already hurting my hand, which is why I've got tools available for me. I have these clear corner triangle clips which are really handy in keeping the pages actually down. And as you're aware with anything new, the book's always quite tight, so this is actually, I think, bound with a thread, so it's really difficult to kind of press down. So what I will be doing is using a weight on one side, because I just don't have the hand stamina to kind of hold on to the book whilst I'm colouring. So you won't actually see that on screen, but if you do want to see a setup of how to keep the book down, because as you're aware with my health, my left hand doesn't work as good, so I try to keep as much, you know, energy as possible. Now if you're a beginner at colouring and you just don't know where to really start, I'm going to share some tools that I use as well. First off, I have a pen, and this is the Zebra Sarasa Dry Speedy pen in 0.4mm. And then I have this Derwent white paper stump, which are used for blending in, because again I don't put a lot of pressure on, I like to use that. And then I also have this dual brush from Arteza to wipe away any dust particles. I just use a generic pencil sharpener, so I've got one that's got a casing and one that hasn't. And I also like to use these clear corner triangle clips. Now if you want to know where I got these items from, I will leave the information in the description box below. So this is usually just my basic setup, and then whatever colouring pencils that I do want to use. Sometimes I do keep gel pencils, but that depends. And for today's colouring session, I'll be using the Castle Arts Botanical collection, and these are 24 coloured pencils. And I've already have them sharpened here, as you can see, ready to go, because it works wonderful. If you start off with sharpened pencils, you don't have to do them as you need them then. And then also you'll need a colouring book. So these are kind of the basics of what you need to start. So first off, I'm going to have to bend this book down because it's already super hard, and I'm going to put a weight down on one side, and I keep a corner piece of like cardboard that's white, just so I can put my hand down so it doesn't smudge anything else. I am starting off with this selection of mushrooms, and it's on the second page of the book, the right hand side top corner. So here I'm starting off with red ochre in 015, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently start off with a layer of colour that's just a little bit subtle, so not too much pressure. You can always go back in and add more colour. So what I'm going to do is just get a base of colour down. Now when I start off with something, I don't really think too much about shadows or light. I just try to get a little bit of colour down and then work my way. I can always add later on and come back if I need to, but again, this is really just meant to be 10 minutes of colouring, just to be able to sit down and enjoy and get a feel of the book and get a feel of your pencils, just so you know. So I wouldn't really put too much pressure on yourself either. I remember when I first got into adult colouring, I was like, oh my goodness me, it's got to be perfect, and I'm not doing it properly, and I need to learn this technique, and I need to learn that. And in the end, I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna sit and enjoy the process. So here what I'm doing now is I've gone back up again, and I've built a little bit of colour towards the top and towards the bottom. So that's usually where the areas of a mushroom would be darker. And again, I'm going back in and building up that little bit of pressure, just a little bit more on the top and on the bottom. I thought I would start off with some basic colours, so something that's not too expensive, and that's something that's, you know, got a good price point, and that if anybody is a beginner starting, they'll be able to go out and purchase. So the first few videos I'll be sharing will be with the botanicals, but I do have some standard pencils and then some Arteza ones which I will be sharing. And now I'm going in with the Cadmium Red-024, and I'm just going to go in all over to just darken the colour and make it that little bit darker. Now I know some of us like to watch colouring people tutorials in silence, so what I'll do is I'll pop on the colour as well, and then I'll also leave them in the description box below in the order that I kind of used them. Now if you do use my exact colour technique, please do tag me either on YouTube or social media. I'd love to see what yours looks like too. If you have any questions about anything specific, or you'd like to know more about something, or you'd like me to colour a particular item, please do let me know. Leave me a comment below. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok and the Threads app at My Creative Chronic Life. You can also send me an email too. Now for the bottom of the mushroom, I'm using Cadmium Yellow 007, and then I'm using Golden Yellow 003. Right, I first placed down Cadmium Orange 017, then 007, and then I went over with 003. That's almost like a golden yellow colour. Now if you're not sure why I'm saying the numbers, on these pencils in particular, you'll get the name of the pencil and then you get a number as well. So if you ever needed to go back in and then go and buy a singular colour, that's what you'll know. So you'll keep note of them. They're always on the, with Castle Arts, they're always on the back of the pencil container. Some of them, like Staedtler, don't actually have a colour name, just a number, so you can always write them down. Most people do swatches as well, so that's entirely up to you if you do want to do a swatch. But if you don't need to do a swatch, you can always find them online as well at Arteza, or if you go into Staedtler, or if you're going to go check on Botanicals, Castle Arts ones are always available there for you. So I finished off the mushroom dots in the golden yellow 003, and then I went over with golden yellow over the top of the mushroom just to kind of blend it in. Now for this little mushroom, I decided to use the golden yellow 003, the cadmium yellow 007, and then the terracotta light at 011. Now I kind of was going for this brownish yellowy mushroom, but with the Castle Arts 24 colours, you don't really get a lot of variety there, so I just kind of had to make do. Now for this larger mushroom, I used raw umber at 116, and I started off at the top again, making it a little bit darker and then blending my way down. Now I used a few different colours here, and you'll see why. Because I was trying to make it look like there was more depth at the top and then it was lighter towards the bottom. Now if you knew what colouring, I wouldn't really be worried again with shadows and where placements are. I would just enjoy the process of colouring. So at the beginning I would just colour this all in dark brown, and then maybe use a different colour for the bottom half, and then just leave it like that, because I wasn't really aware of blending and shadows. And again, sometimes I do choose to just do that if I've only got a quick 10 minutes. As you can see, I go up and down again, just building up the colour, adding a little bit of shadow and a little bit of texture here in the corner, just to kind of think, what would a mushroom look like? And if you are a little bit stuck, what you can do is Google what a mushroom looks like, and then you can see some of them together. And then what you can do is just try and copy where the shadows would naturally fall. Or if you think the sun's shining from the right, then where would the shadows sit? If the sun's shining from the top, would it be darker at the bottom or lighter at the bottom? And here you can see I've just added in another colour now. So what I did was I added yellow ochre 077, and I'm just blending both of them colours together. And then I'm going to use the same yellow ochre 077 for the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the lines that I've already there. So what that usually means is there's usually a little bit of texture, a little bit of shadow. So I'm just going to go deeper towards the ends and then work its way up. And then I'm going to use the Terracotta light 011 to kind of blend in, and then go over the whole of the mushroom again and just blend all over. Now remember, you don't always have to colour in every single space. You can leave a little bit of the cream coming through, because that just adds again to the texture of the mushroom. Because usually if you think about a mushroom in real life, it's got a little bit of cream, a little bit of brown, a little bit of, you know, different types of colours in there. And again, where the light would shine, you would see a little bit of lightness through there. So that's why I don't really put a lot of pressure on. And then here now, where you can see the curves of the mushroom, I'm just going to go in and make the line a little bit darker. And I like to go in straight lines along the mushroom, so it always gives that kind of wavy effect as the mushroom spreads out. Now I would suggest, if you are a beginner, out of all the Johanna Basford's books, I think this Small Victories is a perfect size. It will fit in like a decent size handbag. It is A5, and if you did just have a small set of colouring sets, even 12, 24 set, I think it would be perfect for on the go. If you are looking for something more compact, there are smaller versions available. I then go back in with the raw umber and go at the top of the mushroom again to make that colour just a little bit darker. And as you can see, when we're done, you can see the depth of the mushroom and the layers that are in there with the different types of colouring. I then go over with golden yellow 003, and I just do a once over the mushroom, and that kind of just blends everything else in together perfectly. I do just want to say that I don't really colour this fast in real life. I've actually sped up the video, which is why it looks like I'm just doing it really fast, but in real time it's pretty slow. Now for the stem of the mushroom, I'm using golden yellow 003 just at the tops and the bottoms, and then I'm going to blend that with cadmium yellow 007. And where the leaves, you can see, are just crossing over, and underneath the red mushroom, I'm just going to make that slightly darker just to add a little bit of shadow and depth in there. I always like to clean any excess pencil, crayon, crumb away before I go into the next part. Okay, so now we're on to our final mushroom. Now if you've ever been out in the park, or you've been out to somewhere in the, you know, like a larger kind of area where you would usually find mushrooms, you'll always find that mushroom that's just a little bit odd and it looks a little bit grey. So this was the one that I was kind of going for. So what I've used here at the bottom is Payne's Grey 119, and again I'm making it darker towards the bottom and then lighten it again throughout the middle. Wherever the brown mushroom is, I'm adding a little bit of shadows to it. Now this mushroom in real life has these kind of curves and little bits of holes inside, and the colours that you see are light cream, a little bit of white, and then again towards the bottom is extremely dark grey. And so what I decided to use was the Payne's Grey 119 and then the golden yellow 003, and then I went over it all in titanium white in 072. Now again, because I'm only using 24 colours, had this have been the Arteza set, I probably could have matched it exactly. But sometimes I think, you know, you just make do with what you've got, rather than going out and having, you know, hundreds of pencils. Sometimes the smaller set forces you to be able to think out the box and come up with your own variation of something, because something doesn't have to always be identical to a real life item. It's just a little bit of fun. You're just enjoying doing a little bit of colouring. So here's what I'm doing here now. I'm just adding the titanium white, And again, I'm going back in just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of depth and some shadows. And again, I use the Arteza brush to wipe away any pencil crayons, little bits that come off, because if you do use your hands or swipe over, what's going to happen is you're going to smudge it all across your page. So just be careful of that when you are. And if you don't have, a particular paintbrush, I've seen people use soft makeup brushes, the big fluffy ones that you use to put on powder, or I've seen them use just a general paintbrush. And if you have none of them, just a gentle blow with your mouth will kind of remove any excess. And if you don't want to do that, you can just pick up the book and shake it off rather than rubbing your hands across it, because you will make the mistake that I've done, unfortunately, where I've done that and thinking it's fine, there's been a little bit of red residue and it's swiped all over, and some of these things you can't go back in and rectify. And for the stem of the mushroom, I've used Payne's Grey 119, and then I've used Titanium White 072, because that's always much lighter in colour, especially as the bottom half of the mushroom is darker. Now when it comes to choosing out colours, I don't really think too much about it, especially with the set as small as 24, because you only get a couple of green, a couple of red, a few purple tones, a few blue tones. But being this is a botanical set, you do get a little bit more green and a little bit more blue in there. So I was a bit spoiled for choice with the leaves, but I do tend to just stick to two colours when it comes to leaves, and especially when they're as small as this. So what I used here was Oxide of Chrome 063, and then I used Sap Green 113 at the bottom. So as you can see, I make the tips darker, and then I follow it through the rest of the leaf, making it lighter. Now you can go back in again and add and blend as you like. And if like this now your leaf is hidden behind something, you just pretend like as if there's a little bit of colour coming through, and you can add just a tiny little bit of texture on the side, and then blend it through. But where necessarily there would be colour, you don't have to. Like I just added just a small gentle amount, and it's just a small spot, but it does make a big overall difference when you're looking at the picture. So again, I just take my time. Sometimes I do repetitive motions, which are doing all of the edges first, and then I go back in, and then I do all of the, the middles and the ends. And if I'm going back like now, I'm going back in and I'm doing the ends as well, because usually the ends of a leaf are a little bit darker. So I do like to do that, and keeping my pencils out. Now how I know what I've used is I leave the two pencils out, and in my set of pencils, they've all got their own space. So I just keep the greens together, and they go from light to dark. So that's how I usually know what I've used. If they're missing out, I know what I've used next, and I can just check. Or the alternative is like today, for example, now I'm writing them down so I can remember what I used, and I pop them down on a piece of paper. That is a little bit time consuming, but I think overall, if you want to go back and use these colours again, or do a similar picture and you like the, the combination, just do remember to mark them down. Have a little bit of a notebook and mark them down. So that's the right hand side leaves done. Now these smaller leaves, it depends. You can again use two different colours, but again, with them being so small, and the whole point of this little exercise is to do it in a short amount of time. So what I just decided to use was Burnt Umber 068, and I just coloured them in, and wherever I thought it needed to be a little bit darker, I just put a little bit more pressure on, just using the same colour, which was Burnt Umber. And you can see some of them look a bit darker because they're hiding underneath the mushroom, and then others that are lighter towards the kind of sun, they're always a little bit lighter. Now if you struggle like me with any sort of health or illness, and you can't always sit down in one go, and you kind of think, oh my goodness me, I'm really tired now, my hands are tired, or I'm done now, I've had 5 or 10 minutes and I want to come back to them, what I just do is take a little bit of piece of paper and I pop it into this page, just writing down what colours I used or the last colour that I used, because usually when you're completing, I go from one section to the next, and that's what I'll be doing here. So I always write it down, so if you ever want to go back in a couple of days and come back to it, you're not thinking oh my goodness me, what colour did I use, and then mix it all up again. Now for these tiny flowers I use Cadmium Orange 017 and Cadmium Yellow 007, and then I took the yellow and just did out the little dots, and then I went back under and I did burnt umber 068 just to kind of give that little bit of shadow and depth. Now I have seen some people just use like a circular cup or glass to make a circle with, and then they colour the background in a variation of colours, or they blend it out. This time I just want to keep it really simple. Right, that's all me done for today. I hope you enjoyed this little colour with me, and I flipped through of the new Johanna Basford book. This is called Small Victories. You can purchase this on Amazon, Waterstones, I think W.H. Smith and a few others. The price for this was $12.99, and I know if you got it on Amazon or pre-order, I think it was for £11. Now this book almost is the size of an A5 size, so if you're kind of wondering what size it is, some of the other books are larger, and if you are looking for something smaller, Johanna Basford has the smaller pocket books as well available for you. I hope you all enjoyed watching. I will be sharing a few more this week, and as this will be posted on Sunday, if you do have Facebook and you want to follow Johanna Basford, she's doing a live session on Facebook. I can't quite remember the time, so you can follow her too. If I do remember, I'll pop it in now. The before now, here's the after. Hope you all enjoyed watching. You can leave me a comment below, and you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram and the Threads app at My Creative Chronic Life. That's all until next time. Bye bye.